Hi, hello and welcome to everyone joining us from Romania and everyone viewing this video. Today we'll be having an informal session and we'll be exploring some of the best practices surrounding GitHub, how to collaborate on open source projects, and also how to leverage the GitHub API. Our plan for today will be to create a GitHub repository, see how that's done, how do we add collaborators to that. Then we're going to be forking a repository, which is something that's common in open source development. Basically, it means just copying a public repository and basically managing your own build from there on. Later on, we'll be looking at the best practices for a branching strategy, how to create feature branches, and how we integrate these branches back into the main repository. Later on, we'll be having a more in-depth discussion about the pull requests and basically how this is a conversation between the person that commits and also the person that's managing the repository. Finally, we'll be leveraging the GitHub API and we'll be seeing how if we write flexible commit messages, basically, we can just accelerate some of the things, some of the workflows. First off, let's just say hi to the people over here. Gino, Marius, Marian, and Mihai. Jonas will be also joining us shortly. Okay, so let's start off with GitHub. GitHub is one of the leading online repository hosters. It's very well known for open source projects, and it also features a pricing plan for private repositories. Symfony and Composer and a lot of other powerful tools now find their home on GitHub. They also offer a powerful API which allows us to track issues, to see who's been committing, what's been added. It allows you to do merges online and also commits and various other things. So let's start off with creating a GitHub repository. This is my personal GitHub account, and in order to create a new repository, I'll just click on the cat logo over here. I'll go to my account, go to the repositories page, and over here I have the new button. If I click this, I can create a new repository. Again, as I've mentioned, public repositories on GitHub, they're free, but this also means that they're open source. So basically people can access the source code and view all of that. So I wouldn't put the Cegeka projects on there. Okay, so let's create a new one. We'll be calling this one meeting1 GitHub. And we'll just say that's repo holder for first meeting. Okay. We'll also be taking this, initialize the repository with the README so that we can clone it afterwards. Over here we can attach a license to the project, whether it's Apache, GPL, MIT. I won't go into specifics with that, but you can choose the sort of license that you want to apply to a project. Okay. We've now just created that repository. It's up online and we can use it immediately. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So we'll just make a Cegeka directory over here. We'll go into it, and basically what we want to do now is that we want to clone this repository locally and just add a small script to it so that we have something there. We can easily copy the URL for our GitHub repo just from here. Okay, it's copied. And we're going to use git clone. Okay, paste. And there it is. So now it's bringing in our repository, hopefully. Okay, there we are. You can see since this was a public repository, we didn't have to use a username or a password or anything else because this is open on the internet. Okay, so we're just going to go inside and we're going to create a small CLI script that just says hello world. Okay. We're gonna add a trading space at the end. Okay. So again, this just says hello world, nothing fancy about it. We're now going to commit it. Okay. And we're going to be pushing that. Okay. Hey Jonas, thanks for joining us. Okay, so whenever we push to GitHub, as part of the GitHub configuration, basically you'll see you'll be asked for either the password to your SSH key or not SSH, or is it SSH? And otherwise we'll be asked for a username and a password. So I'm just gonna log in into my account over here and basically just push this over on the master branch. Over on the repository, if we refresh the page, we can see that the script has indeed been added. We can edit the file over here, we can see the code, we can see who's done it, obviously that's me. But you can access a lot of features instantly. So now let's say that you have a project on GitHub and you have a new collaborator that's just joined your team. And GitHub has a lot of information, from pulse analysis to graphs, networking. Very important, the issue manager right here and the pull request manager. It also has support for wikis and other things, but that's not important right now. If we go into settings, over here we can see we've got a number of options. The repository name, whether or not we want wikis, other things like that. And we can also add collaborators over here. Oops, there we go. Session 9. Okay. And over here, again, if we click on collaborators, we can add a collaborator to our project. So the new team member, if you will. I've previously created a Cegeka helper account, which is the one that we'll be using. And why do we have two GitHub accounts? One of them is for the repository owner, so that we understand what happens from the perspective of the repository owner. And we have another that's kind of like the developer or the collaborator view on things. This way, we're trying to get to understand both sides of the story and how that works. Okay, so now I'm just going to go and create an issue. And let's say that one of our change requests is change hello world to hello Adrian. Something that's very simple. I'm going to assign a Cegeka helper to that. Both have a picture. And I'm just going to submit that. Okay. So now, this is Cegeka helper's account. Again, it has the same profile picture, but it's a different account. And if we go to notifications over here, you'll be able to see that, yeah, you've been assigned to a task, basically. And you can just go on ahead and check that out. So, a common feature when developing on open source projects or projects on GitHub in general is to fork the main repository. What does this mean? Basically, you create a copy of the repository as it was in that state. And this allows you to effectively change it however you want. You have full control over that repository as soon as you forked it. So if you have Symfony and you've always dreamt of it being completely different, then you're free to do that. This is very important because it's exactly what we'll be doing now. So I'm just gonna go on actually, let's search for it because I think that's more interesting. So we can go ahead and search for this particular repository. Maybe not search this repository, but all repositories. And we can just go on ahead and look up for this repository. What? Anyway, this is the page, right? And over here you'll see that you have a fork button. Once you click the fork button, this will essentially create the copy of the repository over on your account. Okay, you get a nice little scanning thing over here. And there you are, the repository's been forked. And again, now you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, you're free to do exactly as you choose. The difference between cloning a repository and forking it is that on cloned repositories you can't commit because you probably won't have access. On forked repositories, those are yours and you can do whatever you want with them. You can have a whole new batch of contributors if that's what you want. It can turn up into a totally different project. Okay, so let's clone this repository over locally. So I'm just gonna git clone, paste again, and we'll call this folder meeting1 GitHub forked. Okay, it's cloning. Okay, so sorry, I'll just move it one folder up. Okay, there we are. Okay, whenever you fork a new repository, again, you'll have the state that the repository was in when you forked it. So if you're copying a project that's in development, the initial project will keep on going in its own direction, and your fork will go in its own direction. But what's, again, a common practice over here is to set up something that's called an upstream, which basically allows us to sync our fork with the changes that have been made in the meantime on the original repository. And this is something that's very easy. You just git remote add, and then we'll be copying. By the way, small thing. Whenever you're on a repository that's been forked, you can always find the link to the original one. Okay, so I'm just going to click that, and I'm just going to copy the URL from the original repository. Okay, pasting again, and you can see this is the standard. This is the standard syntax whenever you're adding a remote, and we're going to call this upstream. Sorry, there we are, upstream. Jesus. Okay, now we're going, and whenever we want to merge the changes that have been going on in the original repo with the ones that we have forked, you just go ahead and say git fetch upstream. Okay, this is going to bring in all of the latest changes, and then we're just going to merge with upstream master. Obviously it's up to date because nothing's gone on in the meantime, but otherwise we would have gotten all of the changes and we would have to basically push them. Okay, so that's everything that we need to do for forking a repository. What have we done? We've clicked on a button, which is the fork button, and we've also added an upstream. Now let's try solving the issue that's been assigned to us. If we go into, where is that account? Oh, sorry, that was open. All notifications. Okay, so if we go over here, the most important thing in an issue from a developer perspective is the issue number, because this directly influences the way that we name our branches. So what we'll be doing, you know how the master branch should always be stable. Okay, it should not be a development branch. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to create a new branch using Git Checkout B. This is just a local branch, it does nothing, and we're going to call it issue1. Okay, and then change hello world to Adrian. Okay, so now if we git branch, yeah, question?
The names of the branch, I mean, we should expect a standard, or we can choose any name of the branch that we like?
Most repositories have this sort of standard, but if it changes, obviously you need to fall in line with however people want it. But again, this is just locally. Okay, this isn't a remote branch, it's just on our computer and it does nothing else.
Yeah, so for example, if I knew about that, I want to create a branch to solve the issue 1, it's not mandatory to put the 1 number in the branch.
When you're doing it locally, not, but when you're going to be pushing it remotely, you should be doing that, and it's the best practice just to keep it this way as it is now, because it solves other problems later on. Okay, so what was the issue again? Basically changing hello world to hello Adrian. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do that. Hello Adrian, great. Okay, let's run it, see if it works. It says hello Adrian, so we've done our job very well. Now we're going to add the file, and we're going to commit. And again, different companies, different repository holders, they all have their standards. This is one that I've encountered. basically just having the issue number, basically the ticket name essentially. So change hello world to hello Adrian. Okay, we've committed that successfully. And now, this is important, we want to push our feature branch remotely. But we're not going to push it on the original repository, we're going to be pushing it on our forked repository, because that's where we have permission to do everything. So we're going to be running git push origin, which is the origin of our repository, the forked one, git push origin, and then the branch name, which is I1. Okay. Okay. And that should work. Okay, great. We get a message that says that branch I1 whatever set up to track remote branch I whatever from origin. And that's important because now whenever we push, you know, our changes will go directly into the remote feature branch. And that's important for our next step. Okay. But what is the plan? The plan is to get this issue and basically to merge it into the original repository. Okay? Because currently it lives on our forked repository. It has nothing to do with the original version of the project. So this is where we introduce the pull request mechanism. Pull requests are basically saying, hey, I've developed a feature and I'd like to integrate this into the original project or into your project. And this works, this is something that's fueled by GitHub. It's not available on Git per se. So let's have a look at that and how we can do that. So if we go to our repository, I'm Cegeka helper, I'm the developer, okay. I'll go to pull requests, which is a tab that's always there on the right. And then you can hit new pull request. And over here, you can basically say, okay, what are the branches that I like to compare? And we're going to compare the original repository on the master branch with the head fork from our branch, from our repository. And we're going to select over here the feature branch that we've just pushed remotely. And if we do that, okay, we'll get a nice little graphic showing us, it's basically just a merge graphic. It shows us what's gone out, what's gone in. You can see a lot of, actually not a lot of details at this stage, but anyway. Then we hit click create to pull to create a pull request for this. And something that's, and basically over here you can leave a comment and say, okay, what is this pull request in relation to? So it's just gonna say, okay, this is issue 1, and over here is the first step. We'll be showing how comments can be linked into the GitHub API. So issue number 1, change hello world to hello Adrian. There's a nice little preview button, and you'll see why I added the sharp thing before it, because now this links to the issue on GitHub. So whenever the person that wants to kind of merge your branch, they can always just access the issue, think about, yeah, okay, this is what he's done, okay, that's perfectly fine, or not. Okay, so we're just gonna send a pull request. And another common practice is to assign the person that you want to do the pull request. In most cases, this is the repo owner or somebody that's assigned to do that. So we're just gonna assign myself over here. Okay, that's great. Well, that's awkward. Okay, so now I'm back on my account, right? If I go to meeting 1 GitHub, which is the original repo, and I go to pull requests, I can see, hey, there's a pull request from Cegeka helper. And what I can do over here is that I can see, basically this is the discussion that we're having regarding the changes that I want to have merged. These are the commits that the person's made, and these are the files changed. And basically you can see every single file. In this case, it's something very small. Another useful feature is that you can add inline comments anywhere. which is very important, but we'll see this later on. Okay, so I'm happy with the change as the repo owner, so I'm just gonna reply and say, hey, thanks man. Okay, merged. Just gonna add a comment there, and then I'm gonna merge the pull request. Okay, confirm merged. And what's happened now is that the feature branch automatically got merged into the original repository in the master branch. And that's very good, because that's exactly what we wanted. Okay, let's just also add over here in the comments, please close the ticket. Okay. So now I'm Cegeka helper again. I'm the developer. I've just received a notification via email that my pull request has been accepted. So I go over here and I see the comment from the repo owner, and he says, right, please close the ticket. First thing we want to do is that we want to remove the remote branch, because we're no longer going to be using that. So let's just delete it. Second thing is that we want to go to issue number 1 and just mark this off as closed. Where's the close button? There we are. Okay. And on the issue number, because we've linked to it, okay, we can already see that there was a pull request for this, and that's been merged. So issues are very linked to pull requests, and they kind of work together to complement each other. Whenever you have an issue, you can always track the changes that have been made in order to fix that issue, or to implement that solution, or to update whatever it is. Okay. So now the issue has been closed, the problem has been fixed, and world balance is here again. Now, pull requests, we don't think of them just as opening up and saying, yeah, can you please merge this? It's a discussion. It's very close to the code review stage that we usually do. So even if you fix an issue, this needs to be a conversation with somebody. That's how it's all thought out, and that's how everything is structured. So now we're going to do a bit of a more in-depth thing and see what happens if your pull request is denied. Okay, maybe there's something that you could have done better. So I'm just going to create a new issue over here, issue, and just say, okay, add nice weather. Right, Adrian. Okay, so now our text is going to be, hello Adrian. Nice weather, right, Adrian. Okay, seems easy enough. Let's assign Cegeka helper to it. And whenever you're assigned to an issue or anything like that happens, you automatically get a notification either over here in the notifications area, but you also get something via email. And initially GitHub will send you a bunch of email for all the collaborators in the group, but you can kind of limit that out and just reserve it to yourself. Okay, so once again I'm Cegeka helper. I'm just gonna go to the repo now. Okay. Okay. But before we go into solving the new issue, let's Git Checkout Master. Okay. Let's run main PHP. What does it say? Hello world. But we've made the changes, right? So you're thinking, oh, okay, yeah, this branch is behind. We just need to git pull. Well, that's interesting. We're already up to date. And why is that? Again, because there's an original repository and there's our forked repository. We have merged our feature branch into the original repository, not into our forked one. So now what we need to do is that we need to update our own fork, right? So how do we do that? Git fetch upstream, and this will bring in the latest version of the upstream. And then we're just gonna go git merge upstream master. Fantastic. You can see that the file has been fast forwarded, And now if we run main PHP, there we go, hello Adrian. So remember that it's very important to also keep our own fork updated. But this has advantages and disadvantages. If the build breaks on the stable server, you can still work on your own fork. So that's good in some situations. In others, it's, you still have to do this procedure manually, so it doesn't help that much. Okay, let's also remove the branch that we've worked on previously. So now we're on the master branch, right? What have I said about issues? The most important thing is the issue number. So let's go on and see that. Nice weather, right, Adrian? Okay, we can see that the issue number is number 3, not number 2 as you might have expected. That's because a pull request also increments this number. So again, what I was saying about pull requests and issues kind of working together on GitHub. So let's call this issue 3, add nice weather. Okay. In terms of implementation, this should be easy enough. Okay. Some of you may have spotted something over there, but let's just leave it like that. We run it, we have hello Adrian and nice weather, right Adrian? Okay, our job is from one point of view complete, right? So let's add that file, let's commit it. That's nice weather.
Can you try adding #3 instead of i3?
We'll get to that later. I don't want to do that just now. But yeah, good point. So we've committed our changes, and now we want to push our feature branch again to our fork repository. Okay, add i3. There we go. Cegeka helper. Okay. So again, we have a new feature branch that's remote. And what do we do now? We want to merge it into the original repository. So what do? We do a pull request. So let's go to pull requests. New pull requests. Over here it says, okay, you can either you can also do pull requests between feature branches, and so you can do pull requests within your own fork if you want to. That's up to you. But no, we want to do it across forks. Okay, so I'm gonna select our branch over here. Okay, and we can see the new lines that have been added. Okay, nothing very fancy. At this stage we're thinking, well, this was easy. New line. Whatever. Okay, so we set off the pull request. We assign the repo owner or the person that's supposed to do that. Okay, so now I'm on the repo owner's account. I see, hey, that's sorry, pull request. There's a new pull request that's just come in. Okay, great. Okay, there's one commit. That's great. File changed. But at this stage, the repo owner might say, yeah, well, what happens if we again need to change the person that we're addressing? First we had hello world, now we have hello Adrian. What happens if we need to change Adrian again? We shouldn't just replace across the entire file. Let's try using a variable for that. Okay. Perhaps can you use a variable for the Adrian string? You can also reference other users with the @ symbol if they're collaborators on your project.
As on Facebook.
As on Facebook, exactly. So let's comment on this line, and now we can assign it back to Cegeka helper. Again, this is tedious, assigning and reassigning people, but obviously the time frame would be much larger normally, and it's very important to keep assigns as they should be. Okay, So back on Cegeka helper side, I see, well, this guy has a problem. He wants us to change it. Okay, let's go ahead and change it. Let's say Cegeka, and let's just include that in there. Okay, let's run it. This is still run. Great. Let's change it to something else. Hi. Does it still work? Great. Okay. So, git admin, git commit, add it string. And we don't need to push the feature branch at this stage. We can just git push because we already have the feature branch, the remote feature branch created. Okay. Great. Okay, so that's been pushed. Wonderful. Right. Over on this side, we can just leave a comment. Okay, sure, just changed. Okay, again, I'm trying to kind of simulate the discussion that would go on between two people. Okay, again, as the repo owner, I go to the pull request. I look at the files changed. I agree with the fact that we now have variables, which is much better than the way we used to have them. But I also see something over here. We got 2 commits at this stage. So basically what will happen is that as Git goes through them, first it will execute the initial commit, then it will execute the second commit. And this is perhaps not the best behavior because you don't need to be able to roll back to the stage where the solution was wrong. So there's no need to keep that. So something that every repo owner will tell you is it's great. Can you squash your commits? Okay. So let's assign back to Cegeka helper. And you see that, and you know, the procedure for basically what does squashing commits mean? It means basically taking all of the commits that you've made recently and just adding them into a single one. This way you only send in 1 delta to the server, and this makes everything much better because apart from creating stable environments, it also helps up Git. So we do that. First, let's check how many commits that we have. So issue number 3. Again, because we've named it issue number 3, it's very easy to identify it now, so that's also important. We can see 1, 2. Great. So we want to squash the last 2 commits. So let's just go ahead and do that. Git rebase -c. And then we go head, which is the latest version, and we say, right, we want to rebase the last 2 commits. If we do this, you get an interface that looks like this. And you get some helpful comments to explain how this works, why we have it over here. And the idea is that we're going to be using this option, squash. Use commit, but meld into previous commit, because that's exactly what we want to do. So we're going to choose the initial commit, which is this one, and then just squash everything else into this one. So let's do that. We then press Ctrl X so that we save that file. Wonderful. Now we get a new message that says, okay, what commit message do you want to have to that original commit? Because you can amend it on Git. So here's the good part. Because we're using this method of squashing commits, we can still see that we've in fact had a number of changes to this. Okay, the first one was adding the nice weather line. The second one was added variable instead of hardcoded string. So if we ever need to look back on this commit in the future, we can remember exactly what we've done, which is very important. Okay, so let's just write out exit. Great. So we've done that. If we go to git log now, what do we see? We no longer see 2 commits, we see one with 2 messages. So that's exactly what we wanted. Now we just git push because we've made the changes. Okay, and this is something that happens. So your remote branch will actually be ahead of the branch that you have locally. So Git will say, oh, can you please git pull first, because that branch has been updated in the meantime. That's because you squashed to a previous commit, which was before in space and time. So this is something that you need to do. Just git push force. This is exactly why the force attribute was created in these scenarios. Whenever you squash and you know that nobody else has been working on that branch, you can use force exactly like this. I think I need to, of course. Great. So let's go back. The pull request, assign the repo owner. Is it done? Yeah. Okay, the interesting thing here now is seeing things from the repo owner's perspective. So here's how it looks at this stage. Remember, we've made a couple of changes in the meantime, right? We've changed the code that we had over there. This is a very small example, but maybe you know a service layer got added in the meantime. Okay, so now if we look, we just see a single commit with the long message. And when we go to files changed, we can see the latest version. And that's very important at this stage, because this is just one single package that's efficient, that's been code reviewed, and that we want to merge. And so we just go ahead and say, great, merged. I'm going to emphasize, can you please close the ticket? Again. Okay, merge pull request, confirm merge. Yep, and that's been sorted out. So as Cegeka helper, what do I need to do? I just need to delete the remote branch, okay, because this is no longer useful. Not gonna do anything else on it. That's been deleted, and then just go to the issue number, which we have over here, and just close this down. Again, emphasizing this is the issue, this is the pull request. They live together. They act as they complement each other. Okay, so we've gone some way at this stage. We have an understanding of how to create a repository, why we fork things, and what forking means. We know how to create our branches. We know that we need to push feature branches. We've launched a couple of pull requests and had a conversation with the repo master. We've experienced a bit about what happens in this sort of ecosystem. Now I just want to very quickly point out how we can leverage the GitHub API to our advantage. If we look back onto the two pull requests that we've had, okay, so this one and this one. Okay, I specifically added a comment at the end. Please close the ticket. Yeah, over here as well. Can you please close the ticket? What if there was a way, so that this process could be accelerated so that it works much better? And luckily, of course, GitHub has a solution for this. We're going to create a new issue, which is just a blank issue. We're not going to develop anything new with it. We're just going to say, use GitHub API. Okay, we're going to assign our Cegeka friend here. Okay. So what we're going to do is first remove the branch that we've just used, okay, because this is no longer needed. Whatever. And now we're gonna git fetch upstream again, because we need to come back to the latest version. Git merge upstream master. Can create an alias for this if it's too lengthy. Okay, we're on the latest version. Git checkout -b, issue number 5. I know this because it's, well, that's the number, but let's also show why that is in fact the number. Okay, so it says right here, issue number 5, use GitHub API. Okay, so we're over here, and we're just gonna make a minor change so that Git sees, okay, we've made the change. This is a comment. Okay, just so that we altered the file, really, because I'm interested in the pull request and how that works. Okay, let's get that. And here's the important thing. Git allows us to automatically say, right, what happens when we merge this somewhere? How does it affect other things surrounding that ecosystem? And Git does this through commit messages. And I'm just going to show and explain afterwards. If we write a commit message that starts with the particular verb that GitHub understands, in this case fixes, and then an issue number, this is everything that GitHub needs in order to automatically apply a post-merge action to a pull request, for instance. So what will this do? This will say, right, by merging this, it fixes issue number 5. So what's going to happen is that it's automatically going to close the issue as soon as the pull request goes in. And this obviously saves us time, and it's good for all sorts of things. There are other features that are available, but I'm just going to stick to this one. And this is why Jonas was mentioning the sharp thing and using issues that way. Okay, so let's say fixes number 5, whatever, use GitHub API. We're free to apply convention, other convention afterwards, but this thing is important at the beginning, the verb and then the issue number. Okay, so we've done that. We're just gonna push our branch. Huh? Am I not on? Oh, did I not add it? Sorry. Did I add it? Oh, sorry, yeah, it's git push. Yeah. Okay, so we want that merged, again, just to show off that this thing actually works. So let's go to the pull request tab. If you can't find the pull request, just go to the repository, to your own repository, that is, and then just hit pull request. It's over here. You'll come to learn this icon if you use GitHub. Of course, that wasn't part of the idea. Again, we're going to compare with the remote branch. This is nice. I think that I need to push again. Maybe let's add something else in here. Okay. Okay, so as we've said, fixes number 5, GitHub API. Okay, seems to work now, so that's fine. Okay, so let's select the branch over here again. Is up to date. Try switching the base. Okay, I think it's not refreshed, probably. Okay, Okay, there we go. Much better now. Okay, so let's just create a pull request very fast. Send off the pull request over on the other side. We're just gonna accept it, no more conversation thing. Okay, merge pull request. Okay, and yeah, that should have closed our issue. Sign to you now. Use GitHub API. Okay, and you can see that that's been closed. So, you know, just a single commit message and a few standards, and you know, we're all well on our way to understanding GitHub better. Okay, so we're close to closing time. So, are there any questions that you would have? Do you want me to go into more detail regarding something that you've seen today? Okay.
No, everything was clear, but I just want to thank you for
Okay.
your efforts. It was very useful. Yeah. And I'm not joking.
Okay.
You can thank him tonight.
You can cut this part after you
Probably
your
will.
sound for gent.
Okay. So that's it. Okay. Thanks